your feedback.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Daily Talk 1580. It's Wealthy Wednesdays right here on KBLA, where our regular contributor, Dr. Wilmer Leon, will be our guest in just a moment. Negro is not just from the streets. He's not just from the community. He's not just down with the people. W.E.B. Du Bois called it a doubleness. He wrote of an African American looking at himself through the eyes of a country that never fully claimed him. An American, yes, but a Negro too. Two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings in one dark body. He didn't see this as a flaw. He saw it as a burden and a gift. Decades later, Martin Luther King Jr. reached a different word, not doubleness, but synthesis. He described a people standing at the meeting point of two worlds, African in root, American in reality, not torn apart by that fact, but forged by it. For King, the goal wasn't to choose one world over the other. It was to bring them together into something whole, something that could walk into the future without apologizing for the other half. And then Jesse Jackson, speaking to a latter America, called it a hybrid, a blending of cultures, of worlds, of ways of seeing, not a wound, not a contradiction, a hybrid vigor, the kind you find in nature where the crossing of two strong things produces something stronger still. Three men, three eras, three words: Tunis, synthesis, hybrid. But listen closely, and you'll hear the same truth underneath all of them. To be black in America has never meant choosing between being African and being American. It has meant carrying both at the same time, in the same body, in the same breath. That's not a burden invented by these men. It's a burden and a brilliance lived by millions who never got a microphone or a pulpit, the mother teaching her children to code switch between the kitchen table and the classroom, the soldier who fought for a flag that did not always fight for him, the artist who took the blues, the spirituals, the sermon, and the streets and turned them into something the whole world now claims as American music, forgetting sometimes where it came from. Maybe that's the real inheritance here, not confusion, but capacity, the ability to hold two things at once and not break, to be shaped by Africa and by America, by memory and by circumstance, and to turn that shaping into strength rather than surrender. We are all of us in this country, more hybrid than we like to admit, but few have had to carry that hybridity as consciously, as publicly, or as painfully as Black Americans have, and few have turned it into as much, into music, into literature, into a moral language that this whole nation still borrows from when it talks and wants to talk about justice. So when you hear someone ask today whether a person can be both African and American, both rooted in one place and shaped by another, remember Du Bois, remember King, and remember Jackson. They already answered that question, not with one word, but with three. Each one true, each one necessary: Tunis, synthesis, hybrid. Three names for the same American story, one that is still right now being written. This has been an editorial comment by Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special regular contributor in this hour is Worldwide with Wilmer Leon. And one of the reasons I wanted to begin with that brief editorial is because when we talk about the world and the issues that shape the world, the Negro is a part of what is going on in the Gaza Strip. The Negro is part of what is going on in the Strait of Hormuz. The Negro is part of what is going on in Africa, in South America, in trade, and in tariffs. We simply don't get the liberty or the freedom to escape our reality and our Tunis. Wilmer J. Leon III is a PhD and a political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, public policy, and American government. For 11 years, Dr. Leon was a lecturer in the political science department at Howard University. And when we come forward, Dr. Leon will be our very special guest. We got a lot to cover in the world today. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
As always, good afternoon. And I'm always humbled when you bring me on board. I greatly appreciate it. Greetings to your audience.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward with Dr. Wilmer Leon on Wealthy Wednesdays and worldwide with Dr. Leon.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8935. 800-575-8935. That's 800-575-8935.
She's sharp. She's fearless.
I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how I was going to get clicks, stop it now.
She's that girl, and she's bringing all of that to your radio this summer. Amanda Seales is here.
I am Amanda Seales.
Comedian, artist, actress, activist, truth teller. The woman who never bites her tongue is coming to KBLA Talk 1580. And baby, the conversations are about to be unmatched. Every Friday, she's going to be lit noon to 2 p.m. and back again 4 to 6 p.m. starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Amanda Seales, keeping it real, keeping it raw, and keeping it rooted. Politics, pop culture, Black excellence, the stuff they don't want us talking about. Amanda's talking about all of it.
You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works.
This is not your average radio show. This is a Seales Summer. Fridays, noon to 2, 4 to 6. Starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't just listen. Tune in.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Leon is the host and producer of the nationally broadcast radio show Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM Satellite Radio Channel 126. He's the author of Politics, Another Perspective, commentary and analysis on race, war, ethics, and the American political landscape in the age of Obama. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Again, thanks for having me. Really appreciate you bringing me back.
Dr. Leon, what are your initial thoughts about what's taking place in the Middle East, the so-called Trump ceasefire that he negotiated 2 weeks ago that has essentially come to an end? Dr. Leon.
Before I answer that, can I go back to Du Bois for a second?
Oh, absolutely. Of course you
Okay.
can. I wanted to set the show up by letting everyone know, Doc, that when we discuss international politics and international relations, the Negro is part of the conversation. I want to set that stage for our show
you
today
did
and
it-
for every time we have this show.
You did it so well and so clearly. And what jumped out at me when you started talking about the two-ness, because one of the things that I think was so profound about Du Bois is he talks about one ever feels the two-ness. And one feels the two-ness. And I think in too many instances now, there are too many of us in so-called positions of leadership that don't feel that two-ness anymore. They believe they've actually accomplished something.
They're Americans now.
They are Americans now. There you go. They loaded up the truck and they moved to Beverly Hills, that is. He talks about having to navigate, and the word navigate, two unreconciled identities. Having to navigate. That means you have to have a consciousness in order to navigate. Otherwise, you're just adrift, as so many of these Negroes are. And then he says that we're forced to understand our own culture and the dominant white culture. We have to understand both. Unfortunately, there are too many of us that are taking that money and they are sacrificing and compromising our culture, our interests, our moral positions for the dominant one.
That's fascinating because I also remember my father, quite frankly, before he ran for president. I'm 61 years old, in 1984 and 1988. I remember the emphasis and the thrust from breadbasket to the founding of Operation Push to the presidential campaigns. I also remember, as a result of the presidential campaigns, the personal struggle that my father was in, having to ask for votes in Iowa based on his limited understanding and exposure to this culture, to New Hampshire and to other states in the Union, particularly Super Tuesday, before South Carolina was moved up in the primary process. And then out of 84 and 88 came the Rainbow Coalition. And when Reverend was finished running for public office, he had to merge the two cultures in something he called the Rainbow Push Coalition. He said, I'm not leaving this. I'm feeling this. Together has to come together in his thinking. And that too became a synthesis, a hybrid, and a two-ness.
And that's so important. You can never forget from whence you've come. And again, unfortunately, I think particularly as we look at our politics, we don't, too many of us don't feel the two-ness, but we sit back and that's why we're confused. We're confused and we're scratching our heads and we're sitting there wondering, well, what I voted for so-and-so. Well, why hasn't my circumstance improved? And so so now your question to me.
Well, let me rephrase it actually, Doc. So why should the Negro care about the Gaza Strip? Why should he care about a ceasefire in the Strait of Hormuz? Why should he care about peace in the Middle East? And why should he care, for that matter, about AIPAC and its intervention into our communities, picking and choosing candidates and their votes in the Congress of the United States? Take your time.
Because Dr. King talked to us, first of all, about a philosophy of a common thread. And he told us that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. He talked about humanity being caught in that inescapable network of mutuality. So from a philosophical perspective, that's a part of the answer. We are people of the world. Palestinians are people of color. Jesus was a Palestinian Jew from last I checked. So if you're black and you're Christian, then those folks are our folks. And when you understand the dynamics of their history, the Zionists got it from the South Africans, and from the Boers, from the white South Africans. And the white South Africans got it from where? They got it from here. From
Southern segregation laws. Absolutely.
Exactly. From Jim Crow. Mm-hmm. So that's why you've got to understand your lineage. You've got to understand your history. Now, from a practical budgetary perspective, why is it that Congress can find enough money to send to the Zionist colony to engage in genocide against the Palestinians, but you can't improve the schools in Detroit? You can't improve the schools in Cleveland. You can't improve the schools in East Oakland or South Central. We don't have the money for that. As now I don't have the number in front of me, but the number of people that are losing their Medicaid, the number of people that are losing their SNAP benefits, the number of disabled Americans that are losing their Medicare benefits. We don't have the money for that, but we can build an F-35. We can build another Tomahawk. What did Donald Trump say today in Turkey? He said, "Oh, we're going to license the building of the missile defense system so that they can start building them in Ukraine." But we can't pay teachers in Mississippi. Folks, our budgets are nothing more than numeric representations of priority. I'll say that again. Budgets are nothing more than numeric representations of priority.
Reverend William Barber calls a budget a moral document.
Well, absolutely. Well, but where you place your priority, where you place your morality is where you're going to spend your money. Mm. So what happened to the revenue sharing programs of the 60s and the 70s? What happened to the national government sending money to the states and the localities through block grant programs so that the states would have the money that they need to do the things the states are supposed to do? Oh, well, Ronald Reagan told us that wasn't necessary anymore because we got to send all this money to the military industrial complex so we can bankrupt the Soviet Union. I don't hear the Democratic Party now talking about shifting that priority. I don't hear the Republican Party talking about shifting that focus so that we can educate our citizenry, so we can house the homeless and feed how is it that in what is supposed to be looking at this 250th anniversary that we just went through and all the fireworks and this is the greatest country in the world, all of that gibberish, and people are homeless and people are hungry. When was the last time, this is not directed to you personally, when was the last time anybody went to East Oakland, California, and saw how many people are living in tents under overpasses? There's not, if you go to Oakland, and I harp on this because most of my family is in Oakland and I grew up in Oakland. There's not a piece of green public space in Oakland that doesn't have a tent on it. There's not an underpass in Oakland that doesn't have a tent under it. And we're supposed to be the greatest nation in the world, and we can't feed and we can't house our population. There are these commercials now that are running, America is back. We're building things again in America. What the hell are you building and where are you building it? Somebody please let me know. That's why what's happening in Gaza matters to the Black community. When I think I told this story before, I'll be really quick. The former leader of the military wing of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, at one point, Israel sent a missile through his apartment, didn't kill him, blew up his apartment, but didn't kill him. And he's sitting on a couch, doing an interview amidst all the rubble. And in the back, in the corner, is a picture of George Floyd. This is a brother in Palestine that has a picture of George Floyd.
So you're saying the Palestinians with that picture, and by definition, they identified with our cause in Minnesota,
exactly,
just as Nelson Mandela identified with our cause in Birmingham, Alabama.
Exactly. When I was in Iran and I met with the cultural advisor to the supreme leader, I asked him, I said, man, why? We were talking about Black history. We spent 3 hours and he was talking to me about Black history. I said, man, why do you care? He said, because we are being oppressed by the same forces. The same forces that are oppressing us in Iran are oppressing Black people in America. And as Shia Muslims, if we do not identify the oppression and fight the oppressor, we become complicit in the oppression, and we refuse to do that. I said, damn.
You know, when you think about it, even the young Chinese man standing in front of the tank in Tiananmen Square,
there you go,
referenced the civil rights movement. When you think about Lech Walesa in Poland, the solidarity movement, he referenced the struggle of African Americans in the United States. When you think about the global impact of what we have done here in, I might add also, the 192 democracies around the world that were not democratic on July 4th, 1776, that had no constitutions on September 17th, 1787, but took the lead from America, the only freedom system in the history of the world established on September 17th, 1787, with all of its fault notwithstanding. They take their cues from the Negro in America and the contribution that we have made to democracy, human rights, and human history. That is not something to ignore. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. We've got a number of issues that we want to cover today, but we definitely want to set the stage for our involvement and why you should be paying attention to everything that's taking place in the world. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
It's It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner says he's taking time to reflect after a woman accused him of sexual assault in a report published this week.
Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false.
Plattner addressed the allegation in a social media video while also reaffirming his commitment to challenging Republican Senator Susan Collins in the upcoming election. Denver Public Schools is facing a lawsuit over its voting map. A legal group claims the district redrew boundaries to preserve Black and Latino voting majorities, raising questions about the use of race in election maps following a recent Supreme Court ruling. And Grammy-winning R&B legend Peabo Bryson will be honored this week in his hometown of Greenville, South Carolina. Bryson, who died in June at age 75 following a stroke, will be remembered during a public program Friday, followed by a wreath-laying ceremony. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now at Big O, get happy with our Healthy Car Special. Includes a full synthetic oil change, 4-tire rotation, alignment check, brake, battery, and windshield wiper check. Plus, fluids topped off, all for only $59.99. Healthy car, happy life. Now at your local Big O Tires.
Is this the Tiger? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man. Dodger star Shohei Ohtani hit his 300th career home run in the major leagues Tuesday night. Ohtani's milestone didn't help the Dodgers. They lost to Colorado 4-3. 2 errors by the Dodgers in the 8th inning led to a 3-1 comeback for Colorado. The Dodgers wrap up their 3-game series with Colorado tonight. All 3 of the host nations for the World Cup have been eliminated: the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Here's the lineup for the quarterfinals. All start times are West Coast time. Thursday at 1 p.m., France and Morocco meet up at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Friday at noon at SoFi, Spain versus Belgium. This will be the final match at SoFi for this year's World Cup. 2 matches on Saturday, Norway versus England at 2 p.m. at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Argentina versus Switzerland at 6 p.m. at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress. giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar. Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Wally drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our regular contributing host is Dr. Leon, producer of the nationally broadcast radio talk show Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM Satellite Radio Channel 126. And just before we turn our attention to the President of the United States intervention again into the World Cup, by the way, a sport dominated by people of color all over the world. That's why it is the World Cup. The United States is a relatively new entrant into global soccer. Football for us has been a fall sport leading to a Super Bowl. Soccer has been a global sport where teams are fielded all over the world, and they are largely people of color. And even the United States recruits people from around the world to play on its team because the players are just that talented all over the world. With that said, and right before I ask this question of Dr. Leon and the president's intervention, there are Italian Americans. Guess what? They're from Italy. They're German Americans. Guess what? They're from Germany. There are Russian Americans and Americans from Spain, the Spanish Americans, they're Nigerian Americans from Africa, they're Kenyan Americans, they're Jamaican Americans, they're Haitian Americans. And then there is this void, the Negro, Black American. You just from nowhere. You just came out of nowhere. You just from outer space, out of the void, out of all of the blackness in the universe. You ain't from no. We are African Americans. We come from pyramids and from science and from technology and from agriculture and from civilization. We come from democratic ideas and philosophy and thinking. We come from science, geometry, and mathematics. We come from angles. We come from politics. We come from a space. We're from somewhere. We're not aliens. We're not from some void that no one can figure out where we're from. But today we're worldwide with PL Da Silva, and the President of the United States, as part of our critique, intervened in the FIFA event that, from my perspective, Dr. Leon, establishes a new standard, if you will, at an unprecedented level of corruption in a national and international sport. Dr. Leon.
I hate to do this, but before we get to that, I need to, if I could go right back to what we were going to in the break. I think to make one more point to bring that whole thing home. You mentioned Du Bois, Dr. Du Bois, you mentioned Dr. King, you mentioned your father. There's another name that I would throw into the mix, and that is the one of Madiba Nelson Mandela. And as your question was about how we as Negroes view what's happening in the Middle East, I don't think there's anybody Black that wouldn't revere Nelson Mandela. I ask your audience, do you all know who the first two people that Madiba went to visit when he was released from Robben Island? Who were his first two international visits? The first one was Fidel Castro.
I'm gonna raise my hand. Castro, and I think Yasser Arafat.
Thank you. Yasser Arafat.
To say thank you. To say thank you. He didn't visit him like they were on vacation. He went to them say
it wasn't
thank
their
you for the
birthdays,
pressure
right?
that you put on apartheid.
Thank you for supporting our movement.
Mm.
And see, that gets that I felt it important to make that point, because now you're talking about the international players that play on the United States, the U.S. soccer team. See, we're talking about Pan-Africanism, understanding the ideological connections between Negroes in the United States and Africans all over the world. We are on a common mission. Whether you're in Brazil, which is the largest, you'll find the largest population of Africans outside of West Africa in Brazil. How many of y'all know that?
Mm.
So yeah, we're supposed to be paying attention. We're supposed to be paying attention. This inescapable network of mutuality. That's why we have to read, so that we can understand the connections between the there and the here. And Donald Trump called the head of FIFA 3 times. He didn't just call the guy once and say, hey, look, this is what I need you to do. Called him 3 times to get that call, that red card, reversed. Was it a bad call? Yeah, it was a bad call. But bad calls happen in sports all the time. Bad calls happen in sports. That's the human element that's one of the human elements in sports.
You know, I was pulling for America, Dr. Leon. I was pulling for America. But with hindsight and with what I know to be something that you've dealt with scientifically, that for every action in the universe, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I'm actually glad we lost.
As are 90% of the people in the world.
Because the reaction is the reaction for our winning under those circumstances would have been so deleterious to who we are as a people. It would have defined many generations of Americans in that sport and in other activities around the world for many, many years. You agree with that, Doc?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a horrific imperialist move by Donald Trump. It was imperialism. And there were so many people around the world that were rooting for the United States to fail. There were Americans that were rooting because they didn't like the way that the United States does what it always does: cheats. It cheated. What does Gil Scott-Heron say? America, the international Jekyll and Hyde, the land of 1,000 disguises. It sneaks up on you, but rarely surprises. And folks, it was haterade.
Mm.
It was haterade.
You know, when it was brought to the president's attention, it was brought to the president's attention that a number of players on the American team were actually immigrants. That his war on immigrants could have literally changed the character and the shape of the American soccer team. It doesn't mean that they're citizens, but that they are immigrants who play specifically for the team and for the sport, but that does not make them American citizens.
Well, wait a minute. I looked it up, and I could be wrong here. I looked it up, but from what I could find, all 26 members of the team are citizens.
Mm.
Many of them have dual citizenship.
Ah, that might be it.
They have dual citizenship. But I had the same thought as you. How many of these? Because if Donald Trump is disparaging all of these immigrants all over the world, but now you want to pick up the phone 3 times and get FIFA to overturn a red card because an immigrant that's working for you. So I found out, and again, I could be off on this, but what I found was all 26 members of the team are immigrants. They have dual citizenship. Gina makes 2 points here. One, Trump displayed his own selfishness and laid it at the foot of the American people and the team. And also the players. No, what was the other one? Oh,
I can tell you, I can make it real simple for you. The dual citizenship of 21 members of the FIFA American team, they are dual citizens because of the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. That's not debatable. And that comes from the two-ness of the Negro in America. Make no mistake about that. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We're putting it all together for you right here with Dr. Wilmer Leon. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Listen up, KBLA delegation. We have something you need to hear. Right now, you may qualify for low-cost home internet. And we're not talking about a catch. This is real. Many internet service providers offer low-cost internet plans if anyone in your household is enrolled in CalFresh, Medi-Cal, SSI, or is income eligible. There are a lot of families in our community who deserve to be connected. Here's all you do. Call 844-461-7893. That's the Get Connected call center. Real people ready to help you enroll today. Or go online to internetforallnow.org to find a provider near you. You may also qualify for a low-cost computer through Human IT. Connectivity is not a luxury. In 2026, it's a necessity. And you deserve access just like everybody else. Call 844-461-7893. That's 844-461-7893. KBLA's got you. If you missed any of this, you can always go to our website at KBLA1580.com. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 in partnership with the California Emerging Technology Fund, CETF.
Are you feeling the heat? LADWP can help you stay cool this summer and save money. Through the Cool LA program, eligible customers can receive instant rebates of up to $275 on new portable, window, and wall air conditioners. Shop the Cool LA Marketplace today and beat the heat and save. Learn more and apply at ladwp.com/cool-LA. That's ladwp.com/cool-LA.
Going to a World Cup match in LA this summer? Ditch the parking stress and ride Metro. With direct service from across LA County, it's the easy way to get there for just $1.75 each way.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit Genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 15.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Wilmer Leon is the author of Politics, Another Perspective, commentary and analysis on race, war, ethics, and the American political landscape in the age of Barack Obama. Dr. Leon, how can our listeners stay in touch with you and support your work?
You can go to wilmerleon.com, very simply. Just go to wilmerleon.com. And my SiriusXM show is Inside the Issues on Saturdays from 11 to 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Every Saturday, 11 to 2 Eastern, SiriusXM channel 126.
Dr. Leon, I'm going to figure out, and I have been working on how we can take calls on this show so that we can hear from some of our callers right here at KBLA Talk 1580 from around the country as well. Dr. Leon, why should a Black American, an African American, a Negro American care about the NATO summit? Why should we care about Putin bombing Kyiv? Why should we care about these events that Donald Trump and Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and others are finding as particularly important to their angle, their take on foreign policy? And what are their consequences? What are the consequences for us? Why should we be involved?
We need to be involved because we are part of this country and because the dramatic impact that these fool's errands have globally impact us domestically. They're doing it. Donald Trump and his school of foolfish, as George Clinton would say, are doing everything in their power to start World War III. And they're pushing conflict to the brink. And the nuclear response would be catastrophic. There's no such thing as a usable nuclear weapon, a small nuke. Why? You've got to sit back and ask yourself, why are the Democrats, or why were the Democrats under the Biden administration trying to provoke China into a conflict over Ukraine? Why? Remember, the Ukraine conflict really started in the Biden administration. Why did the United States blow up the Nord Stream pipeline? Why did the United States cut off gas, the flow of gas from Russia into Europe to deindustrialize Germany? Why? And so these things matter, and they matter to us. Again, if if your focus is just on your city, then look at your city and ask yourself, is my city, is Boston, is Rhode Island, is Cleveland what you want it to be?
Good point.
And if it's not, ask yourself why. And when they tell you because we don't have the money, then ask yourself, well, then where's the money? It's not that difficult.
Dr. Leon, are we represented as a people and our legitimate interests by a political party in this country at this hour?
No, we are not. We are not. And all you have to do, I had somebody today talking to me about Cory Booker. And they were at the Essence Festival, and they were talking to Cory Booker at the Essence Festival. And I said, well, let me look up one thing real quick. How much money does Cory Booker get from AIPAC? $700,000. That was the answer to the question. So, no, we are not being represented by a political party, and those so-called political representatives that we have in our respective parties, they are not, for the most part, they are not representing our interests because they're being paid by people outside of the community.
I'm feeling that. I'm deeply.
I know you are.
I'm deeply challenged by that because I don't hear a message that reaches the streets right now in our country from any of the Democratic candidates. And earlier in our conversation, you were talking about the homeless problem in Oakland, California, and there is a governor in the state of California who is obviously a top contender to be president of the United States. We have a governor in the state of Illinois who too is a top contender to be president of the United States. Mm-hmm. But our governor is doing everything he can within his power to clean up our state so that he doesn't generate national news that shows the kind of neglect that we traditionally hear and expect from politicians. You'd think that when you raised that question about the homeless problem in Oakland, California, that the governor of the state of California would provide the necessary resources to the people of Oakland to deal with the problem so that he at least looks good en route to the potential Democratic nomination. We're not represented by anyone right now, are we, Dr. Leon?
No, we are not. No, we are not. And because those members of the Congressional Black Caucus, a lot of people don't realize, and all this conversation about Democratic socialists, Ron Dellums, former congressman from Oakland, was a Democratic socialist.
Absolutely, he was.
This isn't anything new, boys and girls. Just because you're
King Jr. was a Democratic socialist. Martin Luther King Jr. was a Democratic
Absolutely. Look, folks, just because you're just coming to the party doesn't mean the party just started.
Yeah, W.B. Du Bois and Paul Robeson were like all-out communists. I mean, they went all the way over to the idea that our community needed uplift. Dr. Leon, we have about 2 minutes to close out our show. Your final thoughts? A word of hope?
The word of hope is all is not lost. That for as bleak as the moment appears, that the sun will come up tomorrow. And the question is, where are you going to be and what are you going to be doing to improve your personal circumstance and the circumstance of the collective when it does? You listening to this conversation, you have the ability, if you are not pleased with your particular lot in life, you can make the conscious decision to change it. You can make the conscious decision to change your circumstance. The question becomes, are you strong enough to do it?
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesdays and Worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon, grateful that you spent today with us today.
Always humbled and honored when you invite me. As Tom Porter says, I'm never surprised when you fire me. I'm surprised you just let me stay as long as you did.
Looking forward to seeing you next week. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580 with Dr. S. Todd Yeary and our Wealthy Wednesday. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner says he's taking time to reflect after a woman accused him of sexual assault in a report published this week.
Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false.
Plattner addressed the allegation in a social media video while also reaffirming his commitment to challenging Republican Senator Susan Collins in the upcoming election. Denver Public Schools is facing a lawsuit over its voting map. A legal group claims the district redrew boundaries to preserve Black and Latino voting majorities, raising questions about the use of race in election maps following a recent Supreme Court ruling. And Grammy-winning R&B legend Peabo Bryson will be honored this week in his hometown of Greenville, South Carolina. Bryson, who died in June at age 75 following a stroke, will be remembered during a public program Friday, followed by a wreath-laying ceremony. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now at Big O, get happy with our Healthy Car Special. Includes a full synthetic oil change, 4-tire rotation, alignment check, brake, battery, and windshield wiper check. Plus, fluids topped off, all for only $59.99. Healthy car, happy life. Now at your local Big O Tires.
Is this the This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Dodger star Shohei Ohtani hit his 300th career home run in the major leagues Tuesday night. Ohtani's milestone didn't help the Dodgers. They lost to Colorado 4-3. 2 errors by the Dodgers in the 8th inning led to a 3-1 comeback for Colorado. The Dodgers wrap up their 3-game series with Colorado tonight. All 3 of the host nations for the World Cup have been eliminated: the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Here's the lineup for the quarterfinals. All start times are West Coast time. Thursday at 1 p.m., France and Morocco meet up at Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. Friday at noon at SoFi, Spain versus Belgium. This will be the final match at SoFi for this year's World Cup. 2 matches on Saturday, Norway versus England at 2 p.m. at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. Argentina versus Switzerland at 6 p.m. at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let's get something straight, shall we? Holding a Black elected official accountable is not the same as having a personal beef with them. That distinction matters, and too often it gets blurred, sometimes on purpose, I think. The minute someone raises a real concern about outcomes, about votes, about spending priorities, about broken promises, it gets reframed as an attack, as disrespect, as tearing down our own. We need to stop that, y'all. That framing does a disservice to the very communities these leaders represent. Accountability is not betrayal. Accountability is what elected office requires from everybody, regardless of the seat or who's sitting in it. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think I have a personal beef with Donald Trump? It ain't personal. It's his anti-Black policies. You feel me? So why is it always framed as personal animus when the critique is in Black? See, you can miss me with that mess. Black communities have fought too hard and for too long to get representation at the table. That fight doesn't end once someone wins an election and becomes president of the country, or for that matter, the city council. If anything, it raises the stakes. Representation without results is not the goal. Representation that delivers, now that's the goal. So, in the future, when we talk about a policy failure, let's talk about the policy. Let's keep our eyes on the actual record, the votes, the budgets, the promises, the perennially missed deadlines, the outcomes in people's daily lives. Because the moment we start treating accountability as disloyalty, we lose the ability to ask for better from anyone. We must never surrender our agency to be outraged when our leaders underperform. Our communities deserve leaders who welcome scrutiny, not ones who hide behind identity to avoid it. Now, let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary. And just before I introduce Dr. Yeary, I want to set the stage by raising an important and critical question. How should the Democratic Party view democratic socialism? Last week on this program, I asked how Christians should view democratic socialism, borrowing a question from Martin Luther King Jr. that he asked once about communism. This week, I want to turn the question inward toward the party where this debate is actually happening. How should the Democratic Party itself view democratic socialism? Because here's what a lot of people in this fight are missing. This isn't a foreign idea invading the Democratic Party from the outside. It's an argument the party has been having with itself since the 1930s. Go back to 1932. Franklin Roosevelt, accepting the Democratic nomination, told the country he wanted, quote, more equitable opportunity to share in the distribution of national wealth, end quote. That's not a paraphrase. That's the actual language of the New Deal's founding speech. 3 years later, Roosevelt pushed the wealth tax of 1935, a 79% top rate that hit in practice almost nobody except John D. Rockefeller. Roosevelt's own Treasury Secretary called it a campaign document, and Roosevelt himself admitted privately why he did it: to steal the thunder of Senator Huey Long, whose, quote, share our wealth, quote, movement, cap personal fortunes, guarantee every family an income, was pulling millions of Democrats further to the left than Roosevelt ever intended to go. In other words, the New Deal itself was partly a Democratic president's answer to a Democratic socialist-style challenge from within its own coalition. Lyndon Johnson's Great Society doubled down on that inheritance in the 1960s. For roughly 50 years, redistribution wasn't a dirty word in Democratic politics. It was closer to the whole point. Then it changed. Starting in the 70s and accelerating under Bill Clinton in the 90s, a new wing of the party, sometimes called the Atari Democrats, later the Democratic Leadership Council, made a different bet: growth over redistribution, markets and public-private partnerships over direct wealth transfer, technocratic fixes over big federal programs. That wasn't a Republican takeover. It was Democrats arguing among themselves, deciding the New Deal playbook didn't fit a new economy. That framework, call it neoliberalism, call it the third way, largely ran the party from Clinton through Obama. So when today's Democratic socialists talk about taxing wealth and expanding the safety net, they're not inventing something new. They're reviving one half of a 100-year-old family argument the party had set aside us to right now. One sharp recent essay put the distinction well: what Mamdani and Ocasio-Cortez and the newest wave of DSA-backed Democrats are actually proposing, higher taxes on the wealthy, childcare, paid leave, stronger unions, isn't European-style democratic socialism where the state owns industry. It's closer to what the writer called social capitalist policy, and arguably closer to Roosevelt's own instincts than anything Bill Clinton ran on. But plenty of Democrats look at the same evidence and draw the opposite conclusion. Nevada's Attorney General Aaron Ford has said flatly that Democratic Socialists of America is not the face of our party. Governor Newsom has waved off the whole fight as bunk, insisting that the party has managed this same left-centered tension for decades without losing its identity. And the party's own campaign chair has accused Republicans of hyping socialist labels to dodge a conversation about the cost of living. Meanwhile, centrists worry, not without reason, that a socialist label handed to Republicans as ammunition could cost moderate Democrats their seat in swing districts this November. Same fear that shaped our party over and after George McGovern's 1972 landslide loss. So now, as these chickens come home to roost within the Democratic Party, oftentimes the party that has firmly placed itself against Donald Trump, the people are asking more than new faces in Washington, D.C. They're asking for programs that put a chicken in every pot, that put a job in every home, that put health care and make it available for all citizens and reduce the price of groceries, and who cares what it's called. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, Dr. S. Todd Yeary is our very special guest on Politics of Our Faith, our regular contributor and the principal of the Yeary Firm. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Talkers Magazine has spoken. Out of every talk radio host in America, Tavis Smiley ranks number 14 on the Heavy 100 list. One of the top 15 most important voices in the nation, right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Unapologetically progressive, unapologetically powerful. Tune in weekdays on the 9s, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight. This is your station. This is your voice.
Let's get it on.
She's sharp. She's fearless.
I don't know what they told you, but if they told you that cutting me off is how I was going to get clicks, stop it now.
She's that girl, and she's bringing all of that to your radio this summer. Amanda Seals is here.
I am Amanda Seals.
Comedian, artist, actress, activist, truth teller. The woman who never bites her tongue is coming to KBLA Talk 1580. And baby, the conversations are about to be unmatched. Every Friday, she's going to be lit noon to 2 p.m. and back again 4 to 6 p.m. starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Amanda Seals, keeping it real, keeping it raw, and keeping it rooted. Politics, pop culture, Black excellence, the stuff they don't want us talking about. Amanda's talking about all of it.
You keep interrupting me when I'm talking, and you don't want to hear the point that I'm going to make. And yet you want me to respect your point. And that's not how a debate works.
This is not your average radio show. This is a Seals Summer. Fridays, noon to 2, 4 to 6. Starting Friday, July 17th. Only on KBLA Talk 1580. Don't just listen. Tune in.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100. And I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-575-8935. 800-575-8935. That's 800-575-8935.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly Wally drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the beat. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Wealthy Wednesdays, and on Wealthy Wednesdays, we're in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. Todd Erie, Esquire, principal of the Erie Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as the senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Erie's social justice work includes having served on the national board of the National Action Network from 2015 to 2021. That's the organization founded by Reverend Al Sharpton, and also served as the executive director of the Rainbow Push Coalition, the organization founded by my father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. Dr. Erie, welcome forward to the show.
You already know where I'm going. We're in the deep end of the pool.
Dr. Erie, should Democrats be concerned about the surge within the left and this question of what it means to be a democratic socialist?
I don't know if that's the actual question. I think the party has to be concerned with what party labels actually point to, right? What's your plan? To your point, if there are communities going hungry, if we can't pay a living wage, if the wealth gap got wider during a global pandemic, and you still have the top 1% controlling more wealth than the bottom 99%, then the label really doesn't matter. I think the real question that the Democratic Party has to wrestle with is, what does it mean to be a Democrat now? What's the so what to this claim that they've had by way of maybe some association with prior administrations that somehow or other they're in sync with what's going on with the lives of constituents? And so I think democratic socialism to the party is really a threat because it's dealing with the substance of the matter. The word socialism is often loaded because we don't understand what it means. But by practical application, when you have what they often call entitlement programs, that's the language they often use to kind of say that somehow other folks are not worthy of this kind of consideration. Those are really the kinds of principles. The Great Society plan, in many instances, was kind of labeled socialism. That's exactly how they wanted to just kind of taint it so that it wouldn't be advanced to the interest of the folks at the bottom. And so the real question is not what's a democratic socialist, not who is that, who are we, so that we can have a substantive conversation about what's on the agenda and not just what's on the packaging.
You know, Dr. Erie, if substantively the DSA represents the genuine and earnest desires on the questions of affordability, on the questions of our material existence, from healthcare to education to housing, then the question that you raise is a profound one. If the DSA represents that, then what do the other Democrats represent if they don't represent that substantively?
That's the reason why I think the party finds itself with this mathematical problem, right? That they can't seem to be able to carry the interests of constituents from one electoral cycle to the other because they tend to vacillate. They tend to think more, they talk left, they lean right. And it isn't something where somehow or other you have to operate at the extremes. You actually just need to deal with the substance of what's going on in the lives of people. But if you haven't talked to the people, if you haven't spent time with the people, then what you end up doing is you come up with policy solutions that are directed toward the people, but don't really address the people's issues.
Dr. Year, there's already a movement by President Trump to label and confuse the American people on the agenda of democratic socialists by suggesting that the enemy within is now the resurgence or the rise of communism in the United States. And he seems to be aiming it at those candidates who represent a left-leaning trajectory in the midterms, some of whom identify as democratic socialists, others of whom identify along the lines of the questions of affordability. How should Democrats combat that going forward?
Tell them, okay, it's not what they call you, it's what you answer to. So if you're gonna call a candidate a particular thing because you're trying to stoke fear out of the ignorance of your own base to make them believe that somehow or other the agenda is antithetical to their needs, then you invite the president and all of his rhetorical flourish, however limited they might be, to a real conversation around substantively, what are you going to do to affect the real life conditions of folks who need government as a partner and not just as a critic? And so I think sometimes this defensiveness that the party often has is because they're missing the opportunity to really engage this administration in what it wants least. And that's a conversation out front in front of people. So yeah, come on, bring whatever your assertion is about what I've got. And once we get beyond the wrapping paper and we deal with what's the product within, then we can have a conversation, and then you can argue whether or not somebody wants to buy what you're selling, or if they want what the party is actually representing, the Democratic Party should be representing and presenting as the viable alternative that addresses the needs of the greatest among us.
Dr. Yeary, at this hour, we hear rumors of Kamala Harris testing the waters. We have heard of the positioning of Governor Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker. And even at this hour in Tel Aviv, Israel, Rahm Emanuel, the former mayor of the city of Chicago, is challenging Netanyahu and his behavior in the conflict between the Israelis, the Palestinians, the Lebanese, as well as the Iranians. Do you sense from any of the leading Democratic candidates in the case, in the place to replace Donald Trump as the next president of the United States, any candidate that's even in the ballpark of the agenda of the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America?
Well, it depends on the context, right? The DSA has largely spoken to domestic issues, right? What's happening within our national borders. They've spoken to some degree thematically toward international issues, but not with a whole lot of substantive solutions. When I heard the clips of Rahm Emanuel's presentation at Tel Aviv University today, the first thing that came to mind is he just fired his shot. In case anybody's wondering what that was a tell that he's positioning himself to be in the mix leading up to 2028. And what he did was he framed part of a conversation that folks really haven't spoken to with any great degree of specificity, and said, here's the solution. He didn't say 2 states, he said 23 states. He didn't just come at the critique of a narrow portion of what we've seen in the region over several months. He got right down to, I think, the nitty-gritty. You got to stop advancing the territorial seizure. You've got to stop the occupation, and you've got to stop just relying on militarism as the sole resolution to your problems, because all that's going to do is cause you to live perpetually in isolation. I thought to some degree it is much farther than any other potential candidate will want to go, particularly at this time, since they got to figure out how they're going to raise money. but I think the details remain to be seen. That's where you start a conversation. He spoke his piece. Let's see who has something else to say.
Doc, I before I leave this subject matter of democratic socialists and how the Democratic Party should see socialism, and I know we have about 6 minutes before we come forward, there are many tenets of the idea of socialism that actually reflect the ministry of Jesus of Nazareth, hence creating, for those of us who are in the pulpits and in the churches across our country every Sunday, this question of being told that democratic socialists who are arguing for the ministry of Jesus of Nazareth in practicality are also, on the other hand, being challenged because of this kind of communist scare that the president of the United States is making. There is a moral parallel between what the DSA stands for and the ministry of Jesus of Nazareth. Am I correct, Doc?
If you read the book, it's pretty clear. Jesus was a liberal. But let's just start there. And what comes to mind is on this one particular day, crowds have been hanging out with Jesus, and at about dinner time, the disciples suggest to Jesus that they ought send the crowd home because it was time to eat. And Jesus then says, no, don't send them home. You feed them, right? Now, when it's time to feed them, what they don't have is resource. They didn't even come prepared for the assignment. And so, but for one young lad who has his brown sack lunch of, 5 saltine crackers and a sardine can, they would have starved. But watch what happens. In the process of working through feeding 5,000 people, not counting women and children, so that was 5,000 men who were counted, more thousands than are recorded in the text. Not only out of this bold act of accountability and responsibility did they meet the needs of those who did not have enough, the text then says that the disciples left with 12 baskets full of what was left over. So my question had always been, if I'm not going to be attuned to the moment, why am I carrying around empty baskets expecting something in exchange for nothing effort? And so what we've been sold is this bill of goods that will skip over what the people need. But the folks that are entitled, the entitlement class that we often talk about, they always have their basket expecting it to be full, while the bellies of the people who are hungry go empty.
Couldn't have been stated any clearer for all of our listeners by Dr. S. Todd Yeary in The Politics of Our Faith. Dr. Yeary, let me ask this question. Is it an unreasonable expectation that which we understand and know about the character of Jesus of Nazareth, to assume that a government of, for, and by the people might adopt some of the characteristics of that ministry and actually see the importance of providing for the least of these in this context politically and in this environment?
Depends on which people we're talking about of, for, and by. If the people who think like, are influenced by, and model their lives after Jesus of Nazareth, if they're not fully engaged in process, then the government of, for, and by the people doesn't imply that it's for everybody. The government is of the people who participate, for the people who participate, and by the people who participate. And the problem is, it's far too long. We've allowed a lack of full engagement. I know we get into this splitting of hairs where we voted more than some other group. If our interests are still being denied, our participation is not where it needs to be. We've got to be the ones to drive the which people are we talking about. Very often we take exception when folks say you people. That's why we ought to say we people are the government, and we demand these needs be met.
You're listening to The Politics of Our Faith on Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. S. Todd Yeary. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Dr. Yeary is a civil rights attorney and a public policy advocate. He holds a deep belief that honest dialogue creates opportunities to form strategic partnerships that strengthen families and communities. When we come forward, I'm very interested in Dr. Yeary's opinion on that image that I think captures the reality of where we are of the woman on the metro stations surrounded by white supremacists, the Patriot Party, the Patriot Group. I'm very interested in Dr. Urey's opinion because I think that moment, too, was defining of the 250th anniversary of the United States. More on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward in just a moment.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Vice President J.D. Vance says Iran briefly stopped attacking ships in the Strait of Hormuz before resuming strikes.
But the president has said to them very simply, the Strait of Hormuz is going to be open.
Speaking in Milwaukee, Vance said President Trump has several options, but would not say what comes next. Black teen Carmelo Anthony's new legal team is seeking a new trial and wants the judge removed from his appeal. Anthony was sentenced to 35 years for murdering 17-year-old Austin Metcalf at a Texas track meet. His attorneys claim his rights were violated and argue the judge compromised his impartiality. And Navy Commander Gabriel Edwards has been identified as the sailor missing in the Arabian Sea. The Norfolk, Virginia-based squadron commander made an emergency helicopter landing July 1st. Crews searched for more than 100 hours before suspending the search. Edwards was an HBCU Norfolk State University graduate and was commissioned through the Naval ROTC. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now at Big O, get happy with our Healthy Car Special. Includes a full synthetic oil change, 4-tire rotation, alignment check, brake, battery, and windshield wiper check. Plus, fluids topped off, all for only $59.99. Healthy car, happy life. Now at your local Big O Tires.
There is no denying that we've always been the conscience of this country. KBLA Talk 1580 is progressive talk radio built for our community, by our community, and with hosts who look like you, live near you, and care about what you care about. 50,000 watts of truth right here in Southern California. KBLA Talk 1580. Listen live on your AM radio dial at 1580 or stream us live on our KBLA1580.com website or on our free KBLA 1580 app.
Unapologetically progressive.
As the poet laureate of Harlem, Langston Hughes, once said, I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll sit at the table when company comes. Nobody dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. KBLA Talk 1580 and the Inner City Youth Orchestra of Los Angeles invite you to attend the 18th season finale concert, I Too Sing America, honoring the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, this Sunday, July 12, 3 p.m. at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. Curated by conductor Charles Dickerson and performed by the largest orchestra of color in the nation, I Too Sing America promises to be a show you won't soon forget. This Sunday, July 12, 3 p.m. at the Walt Disney Concert Hall in downtown Los Angeles. Purchase tickets at icyola.org or from the Music Center box office at musiccenter.org.
I too sing America.
You can't fix what you won't face. And we face it every day. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
This November, you'll decide who leads California. So shouldn't you hear directly from the people asking for your vote? Join us for California Voices, a political town hall and ballot forum, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026. Meet candidates running for governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and other major statewide and local offices, including mayor of Los Angeles, city attorney, and LA County sheriff. Get clear, nonpartisan breakdowns of the propositions on your November ballot, both sides, no spin. And ask your questions directly, in real conversation, face to face. California Voices is brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the Empowerment Congress, giving you the information you need before you vote. Mark your calendar, Saturday, October 3rd, 2026, California Voices. Follow KBLA 1580 for details and download the KBLA 1580 app. Your vote, your voice. Be there.
All I need is one mic. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. Let's get something straight, shall we? Holding a black elected official accountable is not the same as having a personal beef with them. That distinction matters, and too often it gets blurred, sometimes on purpose, I think. The minute someone raises a real concern about outcomes, about votes, about spending priorities, about broken promises, it gets reframed as an attack, as disrespect, as tearing down our own. We need to stop that, y'all. That framing does a disservice to the very communities these leaders represent. Accountability is not betrayal. Accountability is what elected office requires from everybody, regardless of the seat or who's sitting in it. Let me ask you a quick question. Do you think I have a personal beef with Donald Trump? It ain't personal. It's his anti-black policies. You feel me? So why is it always framed as personal animus when the critique is in black? See, you can miss me with that mess. Black communities have fought too hard and for too long to get representation at the table. That fight doesn't end once someone wins an election and becomes president of the country, or for that matter, the city council. If anything, it raises the stakes. Representation without results is not the goal. Representation that delivers, now that's the goal. So, in the future, when we talk about a policy failure, let's talk about the policy. Let's keep our eyes on the actual record, the votes, the budgets, the promises, the perennially missed deadlines, the outcomes in people's daily lives. Because the moment we start treating accountability as disloyalty, we lose the ability to ask for better from anyone. We must never surrender our agency to be outraged when our leaders underperform. Our communities deserve leaders who welcome scrutiny, not ones who hide behind identity to avoid it. Now, let me put my hard hat on, go back outside, and see if these procrastination Crenshaw construction crews have shown up yet. I'm saving space for grace, but if these trucks don't show up soon, well, you already know. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat.
You're listening to the Dave Club. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on Wealthy Wednesdays and Politics of Our Faith with Dr. S. Todd Geary. Dr. Geary, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and to your show, Politics of Our Faith, right here at KBLA Talk 15.
I'm always looking forward to Wednesday to see what the conversation is going to be. Always glad to be with you.
Dr. Geary, I'm sure you were horrified by what we all experienced and witnessed and saw in terms of the viral image that more than fireworks could, more than a speech could, more than any press conferences could, really define this moment. And I can't think of a more articulate, more thoughtful professor of African American history, of social justice space from the inception of our nation to the present, than you to offer an interpretation of what we saw and its embodiment of where we are in our politics, in our culture, and where we are as a nation, and maybe even as a world in this moment. Dr. Geary.
The image that we've seen, while there's been a lot of conversation about the effort and the attempt to intimidate our dear sister on public transit, you can see her face clearly. Their faces are obscured. they don't want to be identified because the principles that they stand for really require that they remain anonymous. And so what this image says to me is this is a confrontation, rampant cowardice, and to invoke the socio-political critique of that late political scientist known to the world as James Brown. This is what "say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud" looks like. That's what this moment captures. It appears to be one young woman surrounded, hemmed in by the efforts to limit her agency, but her face is still visible. And so when we think about the contrast, a national anthem where you can't sing all three verses because it tells the truth about what your motivations were. And of course, that was written right here in good old Baltimore, same place where redlining was first institutionalized. Over and against our anthem, facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. This is how victory is won, in the moments where there are efforts to try to limit and isolate, and doing the same thing, not just with her, even on the platform with the other image that's on the screen. But beyond the two central figures, the efforts to try to intimidate and limit the women in the pictures, it doesn't matter whether they're on the train or on the platform or in the streets. They are so not sold on what they selling that they have to remain anonymous to play the game. And as long as they hiding like that, we've got to stand 10 toes down, being clear on who we are so that we can fight back.
I really appreciate you saying that, because in the Black woman, there is the courage. This is who I am. This is what I stand for. These are the principles to which I believe and to which I adhere. I'm looking at you with my eyes wide open. Handsome, glasses, a suit and tie, in Baltimore, Maryland. You're looking at me with the red shirt on and my glasses on, and I have to move closer every now and again just to see a little clearer on the very small screen. But you raised this question of cowardice. That is, that the men and people who hide behind the masks are not capable of standing toe-to-toe with you on what they believe, because there's something in them, and I think Martin Luther King Jr. raised this question. There is something within them that knows morally that what they are doing is wrong, that they cannot defend it. They don't want their friends to see it. They don't want their children to see it. They may or may not even tell their significant others that they are a part of it, but they do it notwithstanding. What does that say to you, Dr.
It says a couple of things. One is that this disease that gets spread so easily is sometimes a disease of proximity. That when we ignore, this is where I think our conversation has to be more intentional. When we avoid engaging in the truth telling that's required in this moment, not just about what they were trying to do, bad them, absolutely. But to those of us who live in that reality, and sometimes the folks in the mask are not so visible, but the microaggressions, the institutional structures that are designed to limit us appear every day with a baseball cap instead of a pointy hood. And we've got to be very, very clear that if we who don't find ourselves in the situation where this young sister is. If we don't step up and do what we need to do when we're not surrounded, then we betray having anything to say, good, bad, or indifferent, about the picture, because we might as well wear a mask too.
Dr. Erie, during this period, I've heard and seen on social media as well a young African-American male who went out with his friends on an island in Mississippi. I think that Crump had jumped on top of the case, has come up missing, come up deceased, and much of both social media is saying that, you know, these are the consequences of being the only black person with all your white friends. Is that still a reality for black people today, particularly young African Americans, that they could find themselves in a situation where they are the butt of the jokes and the victims of some kind of animus? And again, we do not know the facts of what actually occurred. We're assuming that an investigation will be transparent. But is it something in this era that we need to be concerned about? I saw another image where a black woman, a young black girl, was at a swimming pool with all of her friends, and she's the only person who ended up in the pool. They threw her in the pool. Dr. Erie?
Yeah. That's correct. I'm helping folks navigate the hallway. Here's why it is more concerning today than it has been in probably a generation. And it is because in the discourse, when you have Doug Burgum, a member of the cabinet, saying, oh, they're just expressing free speech, even though I don't agree with anything that they stand for. That's kind of like the nod in the week. It's kind of a different version of what this president said during his last administration when he told these types of groups, stand back and stand by.
Dr. Erie, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're going to let you finish that answer when we come forward. More on KBLA Talk 1580. You're listening to Dr. Todd Erie, The Politics of Our Faith, on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
And the match is about to begin.
Most of the team is out with COVID-19, so there'll be some substitutes tonight.
What's this? We have an unexpected guest on the field.
It's a dog. Well, they could do with extra players.
She's going for the ball.
Our front paws, hands or feet?
Soccer season is full of surprises, and COVID-19 could be one of them. If you test positive, prescription medications may help. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Learn more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer at a beverage manufacturing plant, he starts his day knowing every line is ready to run because Grainger delivers the industrial-grade products he needs to keep mixers, conveyors, and packaging equipment moving. With Grainger's vast selection of bearings, belts, and motors, he keeps operations running smoothly, so nothing grinds to a halt. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like public works supervisor.
Hey, this waterman is under a ton of pressure. Did you ever fix it?
Yeah, 3 layers of duct tape. Wait, should I have added a 4th layer?
This is a job for sponsored jobs.
This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs.
Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Back to school starts now. Get long-lasting battery life on the Dell XPS laptop powered by Series 3 Intel Core so you can work from anywhere. Now starting at $699 with exclusive student pricing starting at $599. Complete your setup with savings on select monitors and must-have electronics and accessories. Limited time deals and free shipping on PCs and more await you at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from Nits in the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. To me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Pro on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the politics of our day with Dr. guest Todd Yeary. Dr. Yeary, just before the break, I was asking you the question as to whether or not these are perilous times to be the one Black person in the room with all of your white friends. Is that true or is that not true?
I think this is where I invoke Childish Gambino. This is America. I think the situation and the history warrants, as one of my late mentors expressed, that sometimes the survival in this context with these hostilities is that in order to make it as a Black person in America, you've got to have a certain level of paranoia as your functional state of operating, always concerned and aware. But we also have to be aware that our kids have grown up in a context where the struggle has not been so obvious. And so they tend to explore things that we would never think about, and we've stopped having conversations. Where are you? Where are you going to be? Let me know who you're with, where you're going, how long you're going to be there, when you're coming home, who's driving, who's not. All of those things kind of go together. And so I think the realities are, particularly with what we've seen recently, and not just with Nolan Wells. Remember, even in Illinois a few years ago, before your father passed, he was in downstate Illinois advocating for Jelani Day every day, if he could, several times, because similar circumstances, right? And so I think we have to see it for what it is. I don't think it's necessary for me to say, but I think if we were to think about, all right, if the threat could be real, what you gonna do about it?
You know, when I began the program earlier today, I talked about the two-ness that W.E.B. Du Bois talked about, and the synthesis that Martin Luther King Jr. talked about in terms of who we are as people and as individuals, and that Reverend Jackson talked about the hybrid. And you have to develop a Negro instinct. I mean, if you find yourself to be the only black young lady on a fraternal line, a sorority line of all white women, you have to have an instinct. If you find yourself the one African-American male pledging an all-white male fraternity, or the only black male on a boat with all your guy friends, you have to have an instinct that somehow things may go south, and they may go south very quickly. And that without that sense of paranoia, Dr. Geary, I don't know how you make it in this environment. To be the one black person in the president's cabinet is, I don't care what they say, is to tolerate some humility. There's something that's going to be said in the Donald Trump cabinet, and you're the only Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and you better laugh and giggle just like everybody else in the room and act like you're not offended. Kind of like Clarence Thomas in the rooms that he's in all by himself, where things are said, and he either identifies with them or he's just quiet about it. But much of his opinion suggests that he identifies with them. So, to your point, Dr. Geary, there is a healthy sense of paranoia of what it means to be black in America, and that's at an airport, that's on a train, that's in public transportation. It means pay attention to your surroundings. And I don't care what your degree is or who you are or what your pedigree is. The consequences of not paying attention are that extraordinary if you trust your first instinct. And that Negro instinct is real. Dr. Geary, you have about 4 minutes for your word of hope.
You stir up in me a reminder from my days when I was a young air traffic controller, a career field that is severely underrepresented by capable black men, black women, men and women of color. I was flying back to Chicago using the program access that we had to fly on the flight deck with the crew. We actually would sit right behind the pilots. It was a protocol we would have to follow, and I followed it to the letter. I even had the letter of the airline with me. When I got to an airport in the Deep South, I gave the letter, gave my federal government ID, and I was immediately asked for my Illinois driver's license and my social security number. And I told the gate agent, I'm like, I have no need to give these to you because the letter says that I'm to give you this letter and my government ID and my flight deck pass. He insisted. I told him I wasn't going to give it to him. He said, I have no way of knowing whether or not your government ID, your federal government ID is legit. I said, well, since we're in Georgia and you're asking for an Illinois driver's license, you're not going to know if the Illinois driver's license is legit either. And so I continued to insist. When I left Augusta, Georgia in the morning, by the time I landed in Chicago at O'Hare Airport in the afternoon, the gate agent had called the airline company headquarters. The company headquarters had called Chicago Air Traffic Control Center and reported me. And it actually banned me from flying on the airline. I didn't mind it because the airline ended up going out of business. God don't like ugly. And so we have to stay true to where we are, because in these moments, where very often we might be the Lone Ranger, the solo in the room, that we've got to be able to fight. I'm coming in just a sec, Reverend. But if we're going to maintain we've got to maintain under these circumstances. We can't just talk about these folks who experience great difficulty. We've got to remember their names and remember their sacrifices. And we've got to be ready to respond in real time. So don't give up hope. Look at that image of that young sister on the train and let it be not your fear, but your inspiration. That I don't care how much you surround me by masked marauders who are too ashamed to show their faces. You be true to who you are and keep looking straight ahead.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to S. Todd Eury. Dr. S. Todd Eury, both a lawyer and a minister. The courtroom every single day and in church on Sunday mornings. 1 foot in reality and 1 foot in church. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward. Looking forward to seeing everyone tomorrow right here on KBLA.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.